Had you ever used a leaf blower in a crime scene preservation effort?
First time. We bagged the 6 samples and transported them back to Canton Police Headquarters.
Those were red Solo cups, right?
That's correct.
That tail light was not completely damaged. It was cracked, and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged.
There was a crack and a piece, not 47 pieces, not 45 pieces, but a piece.
That tail light was not completely damaged. It was cracked.
There's nothing special about the red Solo cup?
Other than their plastic, nothing special.
Retired Canton Police Department Sergeant Peter Murphy. What's up?
Hey, good afternoon. Good evening, Mike.
This is Murph. He's a former police officer at the Canton Police Department. And on the show, he said something so critical to Karen Reed's defense, they're probably going to call him in the next trial.
Which means in 1988 that a lot of the police officers that you have seen testify in this trial came on as new boots on the ground on my watch.
And so who were some of the police officers?
Mike Lang, Paul Gallagher, Brian Wanless.
And Brian Wanless was brought up by you before anybody else, before it was hit court. Can you tell us about that whole thing?
I guess you're referring to the Taillight
Yes.
story. I knew Brian very well. I considered him a friend. And there were several other police officers that I worked with closely. And we worked on some serious situations, and I felt comfortable.
Apparently, this guy, Brian Wanless, was an auto body expert and also just happened to be an officer at the Canton Police Department.
Basically said, look, you worked for me. I'm here to help you. If you got issues with this case, if you got jammed up in it somehow, if you feel you have problems, I will work with you. I will help you. I'll find you a lawyer. I'll take you to Yanetti's office. I'll take you to the FBI. But wherever you want to go, you're better off to get ahead of this than to have them come up behind you. And Brian was very honest and candid. And he said to me in his office face to face, he said, Murph, the only thing I did, I'm all set. But the only thing I did was take the taillight out of the car for them because they didn't know how to do it. And I got weak-kneed. I said, what? I said, Brian, that's a smoking gun. That's a murder weapon. It's not an insignificant handling of evidence.
It came out during the first trial that Officer Wanless was called in to remove the taillight.
Did you do a chain of custody report, which would be standard protocol? No. I said, did you do a supplemental report to whoever ordered you to, or asked you to, directed you to take that taillight out, remove it from the car? He said, no, I don't know what they did. So I said, well, who asked you to do it? He became concerned about revealing any more information and said, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I don't know who he ended up talking to. My understanding was there was another person that had information about the taillight and the condition of it when it was removed. From what I was told, not by Brian Wanless, who was still on the job at the time, but by another retiree, that he had indicated that Lexus had backed into something solid and heavy and bowed the taillight mechanism, taillight lens inside, pushed it inside so that there was a crack and a piece inside the a piece, not 47 pieces.
Listen to Murph. He said that someone at the police department told him that a piece fell into the tailgate. One little piece was missing, not 47.
Not 45 pieces. But a piece apparently had been pushed in by the pressure, which I think if you recall, it was her car backing into John's Traverse in the driveway at a very slow rate of speed when she was going out at 5 a.m. to go look for him. You could see the wheel move.
With regard to that expert that just testified, they bought a Lexus, spent all that money, and then utilized 3D modeling for John's car. Why wouldn't you just buy John's car as well? Perhaps they didn't want to.
On the rear wheel well, you could see that wheel move on the driver's side. It rotated maybe an inch or two. That would be when that taillight was damaged minimally. And as officer, was it Barrows, police officer from Dighton?
Yes.
That testified?
Yes, it was.
I thought he was a very credible witness.
Nicholas Barrows, Barros. Trooper Proctor advised me that they were heading, I believe, from Canton and...
Does any guy in Massachusetts have hair? This officer happens to be not from Canton, but from another town, so perhaps we're going to get a higher quality with regard to his testimony.
Once they were about 10 minutes away, they would recontact me.
He's speaking about the morning for which he was called to go to Karen's house in order to drive her to the hospital.
Could meet them at the residence.
Did you observe a vehicle in the driveway at any time?
Yes, we observed a black Lexus SUV in the driveway.
And at some point, did you make any observations of the right rear part of that Lexus SUV?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you observe about that area of the vehicle?
I saw that there was some damage to the right rear taillight. That taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked, and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged.
He had indicated that that Lexus had backed into something solid and heavy and bowed the taillight mechanism, taillight lens inside, pushed it inside so that there was a crack and a piece inside the A piece, not 47 pieces, not 45 pieces, but a piece.
That taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked.
Could you imagine this guy at 9 a.m. that morning is staring at Karen Reed's taillight, noticing that it's just one crack? And Murph's contact at the police department confirmed there was just one crack and the piece was inside, not scattered anywhere. But keep in mind that over the next few weeks, over 45 pieces of that tailgate will be found at the scene. I am so disgusted in Massachusetts. A prosecutor's job is not to win the case. It is to seek the truth and to only prosecute claims for which you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. There's no shame in a prosecutor that stops a case midway when new evidence is revealed.
And a piece was missing,
A piece,
but not completely damaged.
And from the time that you made these observations of the vehicle, at any point did you go sort of physically up to the vehicle?
I walked up to the vehicle, correct.
And about how far away from the vehicle did you get?
5 to 10 feet away.
Listen to that. 5 to 10 feet. You would know if the thing is shattered. A piece.
seemed sincere, honest. His testimony was that taillight had a crack, but sure as hell didn't have 45 broken pieces.
He certainly does appear sincere. He has no dog in this fight. And the same feeling we got when we were watching old Lucky testify is the same feeling you got there. And the same feeling you have for Murph. When this is all over, we're going to put Murph back in charge of Canton Police Department. And then we are going to anoint Lucky Loughlin as the king of Massachusetts. And that's going to be the hierarchy from now on.
Do you think that should have been used more or should be used more in the second trial?
I think we're going to see some more
You better believe it has to be. This is so critical.
information that the defense did not bring into this particular first run, and I wouldn't be surprised at all that the taillight is going to become more of a significant issue.
It's Paul Gallagher, last name Gallagher.
Paul Gallagher,
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a lieutenant with the Canton Police Department.
Oh no, not another Canton police officer. All right, let's listen.
Were you working with Canton Police on the morning of January 29th, 2022?
I was.
At some point, did you receive a phone call?
I did.
And about what time was that and who called?
That was shortly after 6 a.m. Sergeant Good told me he was responding to a scene where a party was found unconscious, possibly not breathing in the snow. He stated his name was John O'Keefe. He was a Boston police officer who resided on Meadows Ave.
And based on that information, what, if anything, did you?
I told him I would respond.
Where were you initially responding to?
I was initially responding to Meadows Ave. I misinterpreted
Oh man, the big dope went to the wrong location. But do we expect anything more?
when he said he was a Boston police officer on Meadows Ave. I thought they discovered him on Meadows Ave.
And subsequently, did you learn a different location and respond to that location?
I did.
And what was that location that you subsequently determined was where you were going?
When I called the dispatch to find out the exact address, I was told it was 32 Fairview Road.
Now, did
He even got that wrong.
you go straight from home to the scene, or did you go stop somewhere else prior to?
I stopped at Canton Police Department prior to that.
And what was the purpose of stopping at Canton Police Department prior to going to Fairview?
I was picking up some winter gear.
And you say winter gear, as far as you're responding to a scene, what, if any, other sort of equipment did you procure when you went to Canton Police?
Sunscreen, beach ball, sunglasses.
It was clothing. I needed a winter jacket, hat, things of that nature. I was responding in my personal vehicle.
Yeah, take your time. Don't worry about it.
And if you know, about what time was it that you arrived on Fairview Road that morning?
I arrived shortly after 7 a.m.
And so, at this point, no one from state police had responded or was responding to the scene at that point.
That is correct.
The timing is critical. It's 7 a.m. and this dope finally gets to the proper scene. But what's more important is Trooper Proctor's not there.
And so what, if anything, did you and the other officers do with regard to the scene where Mr. O'Keefe had been located in the snow?
So we decided on how we were going to process the area. Our concern was there were some light pink spots in the snow, and we thought it may be blood. So we were discussing how to get to that, uncover the blood safely. We decided we were going to process the scene with a leaf blower.
Of course.
I figured we could direct the snow off the area in a controlled fashion.
Using a leaf blower won't disturb the scene at all.
There was crime scene tape set up, and it was blowing wildly in the wind. It was serving no purpose at that time.
Oh, God, what a circus.
As far as the leaf blower was concerned, why was that a decision as far as that being an implement to use in this
Has a crime ever been solved in Canton?
particular scene?
It was a unique scene. There was snow. I had never processed a scene in the snow.
Yeah, because snow is so unique to Massachusetts.
I had seen a leaf blower used in the snow, and it's quite effective at being controlled. So that's why it was readily accessible.
He would have used a snowblower, but there was none around.
The scene was debilitating as we were on scene with the weather. Snow was piling up, and I thought that was the best method at that time. And it's a close-up of where Mr. O'Keefe was found.
These pictures are critical because if you see pieces of taillight, Karen could be guilty. But if you don't see any taillight, it's impossible for her to have committed this crime. Impossible.
And you can see the very light pink spotting that we thought may be blood. And there was an object in the center as well, which we didn't know what it was at that time.
Subsequent, did you learn what that object was?
Yes,
What did you learn?
it was a broken clear cocktail glass.
If you find a broken glass on somebody's yard in a situation like this, did that seem out of place to you?
They were coming from a bar. It didn't seem totally out of place, no.
I know the town's full of Irish drunks. However, if there's a broken glass next to a dead body, you must, at a minimal, assume it could have come from someone in the house who hit him with it.
At the time that you found the broken glass, would you rationally think, well, maybe the rest of this glass is inside the residence?
That's the only thing you should think. Not, this is Massachusetts, everyone's an Irish drunk. And I know that there are a few people that are Irish that aren't drunks, but he's saying basically they all are. They're so drunk they bring glasses home with them, so when they're found dead on the lawn, you just assume that it came from a bar and not the house.
No,
You did not think that.
no, there was a reason that I didn't think that.
Did you ever go inside the house to search for the other part of the glass?
Nah, why would you do that?
Absolutely not.
None of these men can come to the stand as adults and admit, yes, we probably should have, I don't know, questioned the people that were inside, perhaps seen if a cup matched the one that was next to the dead body on the lawn. This big dope lives in Massachusetts. He's never been to a crime scene that was snowing.
Because you made up your mind initially where that glass came from.
No,
You just said you did. You said it came from a bar.
Did you search the house for any other matching glasses?
Nah.
no.
Matter of fact, you didn't search the house for any physical items, did you?
Of course not.
Listen to that smugness. A woman's life is on the line. That could be your wife, your daughter, the woman you're having an affair with on your wife. And you would trust this man to do a thorough investigation? This is an embarrassment to the entire state of Massachusetts.
Is that because that house belonged to a Boston police officer?
No, it's because it requires probable cause, as you know, which we did not have.
Probable cause is so low. Is it reasonable to think that someone in the house struck the man who's dead in the front lawn with a glass that's lying right next to him?
Or at least you didn't think you had at that time.
We knew we didn't have it.
Did you seek it from a judge?
I'm familiar with what probable cause is.
Did you seek a probable
The question is, did you seek it from a judge? And we get the snide answer. A man dead and an innocent woman on trial for the second time. And we get the snide answer.
cause warrant from a judge?
No, I did not. And the pink spot was frozen or coagulated blood.
And the next photograph, Ms. Gilman?
That's Exhibit 23.
In all these photographs, keep an eye out for any pieces of tailgate. If there are none, and there's none found, she's 100% innocent.
And it's basically showing that the scene was trampled by rescue workers, witnesses, etc. But you can still see, the pink spotting in the area where Mr. O'Keefe was.
He thought that trampling word was going to help him. It actually helps Karen, because when you trample around snow, it removes the snow and could reveal tailgate if it was there. Remember, Karen's car at this very moment is not in the possession of any of the Massachusetts officers.
That is I believe it's called a 6-inch Cape Cod asphalt berm.
That's exactly where the yard meets the street. They dug that out and found 0 tail light.
That separated the roadway from the property of 34 Fairview. And this is the long look to where Mr. O'Keefe was discovered.
That's definitely not disturbing the crime scene, but their objective was to get down to the grass level. As much as we make fun of this dope using a leaf blower to disturb the entire scene, it does one thing effectively. It removes the snow, and it got it down to the dirt. And guess what they didn't find? One piece of taillight.
How deep into the snow were you able to go with using that leaf blower in that manner?
We got almost to the ground.
How much of that area where Mr. O'Keefe was found were you able to use the leaf blower on?
It was approximately a 6x6, 7x7 type area.
And from that area, what, if anything, in addition to the cocktail blast pieces that you already testified to and the red spots on the ground, what, if anything, else did you observe?
We didn't observe anything at that point.
Bingo. And there is the entire case. There was no taillight there. And I could say that definitively. There was no taillight there.
Anything else? Just the blood in the glass. Yep, we took 6 blood samples, yes.
Okay, and how were you able to sort of collect the blood samples on scene?
Well, the blood samples, because they were frozen, we debated on how to collect it. We didn't think swabbing was going to be easy to do if it was frozen. So we decided
Why is he being so evasive with this answer? The question was simple. How'd you collect the blood samples?
on finding some type of temporary plastic evidence container. We were able to find large cups, and we took 6 samples. We bagged the 6 samples, and Sergeant Lang transported them back to Canton Police Headquarters.
Temporary evidence containers to collect that blood, correct?
Yep, we utilized cups, plastic cups.
Those were red Solo cups, right?
That's correct.
Red Solo cups?
The same kind of red Solo cup you'd drink beer out of at a barbecue?
Yeah, sure, you could.
There's nothing special about the red Solo cup?
Hey, there's everything special about a red Solo cup. Beer pong, Beirut, chugging, keggers. There's even a goddamn song made about it. Don't you dare speak bad about the red Solo cup.
Other than their plastic, nothing
And they can safely transport blood in a murder trial. There's nothing the red Solo cup can't do.
special.
You didn't go back to Canton PD to get actual evidence containers, correct?
We wouldn't have temporary plastic containers that what we were looking for. We're looking to take samples of snow. We wouldn't have had, I know for a fact we did not have those. If we needed bags, needle containers, things of that nature, we're all set. But as far as plastic containers
But as far as containers that hold evidence, we don't got them.
that we wanted to utilize, we didn't have them.
Hey, Dopey, how about ordering them? I have not confirmed this, but I don't think one crime has ever been solved in Canton, Massachusetts.
Do you have any glass containers?
No.
So Canton PD does not have or utilize evidence collection containers that are plastic?
We have needle containers that are plastic. We have blood swabs that are in plastic containers. But for what we wanted to take a sample, we did not have. So we improvised.
February 1st, a few days later, at your department, there were members from the crime lab that came there, correct?
That is correct.
What, if anything, did they come there to do?
They were assisting the state police in executing a search warrant on a motor vehicle.
Who, if anyone, was present there that you knew or were aware of?
I knew Trooper Proctor was there. Trooper Proctor was there. Trooper Proctor was there.
He certainly was, and that's the video of Karen Reed's car at the garage at the Canton Police Department.
This is Trooper Proctor. This is me with the gray shirt, dress shirt, walking in. And that's Trooper Proctor.
What, if any, issues did you become aware of with regard to the criminal?
They were having trouble. They were trying to remove the housing to the taillight, passenger side taillight, and they were having difficulty removing it.
And what, if any, assistance did you offer with regard to that?
I told them that we had an officer working who was in charge of our fleet maintenance and our mobile operations unit who probably had the tools to do it, and he also had vast, extensive experience in auto body.
That's the cop that owns an auto body shop that old Murph was talking about.
Is that, sir?
That's Officer Brian Wanless. This is Officer Wanless right here. Re-enters the Sally port, and with some tools, and he places his toolkit down on the tailgate of the Lexus.
And what, if anything, do you observe him to do after that?
He begins to work on the housing of the tail light.
And during the course of the removal of that light, a taillight was broken, correct?
That's correct.
And shattered.
Yes.
Parts of it that were falling onto the ground.
I don't think there was anything falling on the ground at that.
This is so critical to the case. I'm not sure why this wasn't blown up even more. Let's hope the defense does it in the second part here. Because the timing's so critical, when this dope was at the scene, there was no pieces of tailgate. It wasn't until they had Karen Reed's car in their possession, they've already smashed the taillight, then all of a sudden pieces of taillight started to appear on the lawn in various spots throughout the next few weeks. The first piece of taillight, which was somehow missed, was found later on that day.
We went to 34 Fairview.
In addition to yourself and the trooper from the crash reconstruction, who, if anyone else, went with you?
Trooper Proctor was present.
That's later on that day. And as dopey and incompetent as this guy is, thank God he used the leaf blower. He didn't know about the scheme that was going to unfold. He didn't find any piece of taillight because there was none there.
Why did you go along with the troopers to that location?
Just so there was a Canton officer present. If any residents came out, I could communicate with them.
The residents of Canton must have their own language, and this dope speaks it.
Attention to February 4th of 2022. Were you working that day?
I wasn't.
And at some point, did you receive a call in regard to this case, this investigation?
I did.
And who, if anyone, called?
Chief Berkowitz.
And what, if anything, did Chief Berkowitz indicate to you?
He asked me if I was working. When I told him no, he asked who was. I told him Detective Sergeant Lank was working.
What, if anything, was that call in reference to?
He stated he was driving in the area of 34 Fairview because of the warm weather and the warm rain in the last couple of days.
And what, if anything, did he indicate?
He believed.
Sustained. I'm going to see it side back.
Oh, I wanted to hear the answer, but we do know what the answer was. So the chief of police just happened to take it upon himself to drive by 34 Fairview Lane, and he just happened to see taillight sticking out of the ground that everyone else missed for the previous 5 days. This is an absolute travesty. Forget those troublemaking Italians, Sacco and Vanzetti. Karen's our new hero. Karen's the new martyr. Can you imagine what she's going up against?
You indicated that Massachusetts State Police was having some difficulty removing the light. We saw a short snippet of the video, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Who made the decision to even remove the taillight? Was that Canton PD or was it Massachusetts State Police?
That would have been somebody within the state police.
And we heard old Murph tell us, the second he asked that cop that was removing and smashing that taillight, who told you to do this? They all clam up. I'm going to recommend the King Lucky that old Murph gets back into that police department, and he's the one who should run it.
Okay. And then you contacted Officer Wanless to actually facilitate the removal of that light, right?
I contacted dispatch to ask Officer Wanless to return.
Canton Police Department was allowed to facilitate the removal of that light.
Yes.
And during the course of the removal of that light, a taillight was broken, correct?
That's correct.
And shattered.
Yes.
Parts of it that were falling onto the ground.
I don't think there was anything falling on the ground at that point.
That tail light was not completely damaged. It was cracked, and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged.
There was a crack and a piece inside the A piece, not 47 pieces, not 45 pieces, but a piece.
That tail light was not completely damaged. It was cracked, and a piece was missing. A piece.
A piece.
So now we do have evidence that that taillight, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, was broken or broken more once it was inside the Sally Port in Canton PD's custody.
You're going to have to rephrase that. I don't understand the broken more part.
During the removal process, that light was broken even more.
No.
No, you just told us it was. Hearing this dope testify is giving me even more incentive to keep up this fight. I'm going to dedicate more time and energy to smoke out whoever did this. Keep up the fight.